Hi, this is Judge Harry Bowden with Child Support Court Vodcast. Make sure you go to childsupportcourttv.com. Check out the new videos, our sponsors, and get to Ask Judge Harry, where you can call in every Tuesday from 9:30 to 11 and ask Judge Harry. Thank you for being a loyal viewer of Child Support Court, the Vodcast, with Judge Harry Bowden.
GetMyBabyMoney.com.
Get my baby money. Get your money, baby, get your money, money. Get my baby money.
Welcome back to Child Support Court, the Vodcast with Judge Harry Bowden. Ooh, we got a good one today. I have a special guest. The one, the only, someone who is smart, just as beautiful and knowledgeable, and is here to help us all. Miss Janelle Dawson. She is a therapist. Janelle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
Let our listening audience know a little bit about you. What do you do?
So I'm a marriage and family therapist. I've been practicing for almost 9 years now. I work with mental health clients. I work with marriages or couples and families.
Excellent,
Yep.
excellent. I invited her here today because I consider her an expert, and she has a thriving practice that you definitely want to call and get some information and you want to get some help on, but she's going to be here today to help us. And the issue that we're talking about is what makes a healthy child? How do parents support bringing up a healthy child, or how do they destroy them?
Right.
Now, you're so gracious to say Janelle, but I know you are a therapist, which
Yes.
is a professional.
Yes.
And Ms. Dawson, I want to start off by saying, in terms of children, which is our focus,
Yeah.
what makes a whole child healthy in growing up?
So being in a loving, respectful environment is ultimately what helps with the child's healthiness, mental healthiness, and emotional healthiness. A lot of times parents struggle with the emotional health because we're not really thinking about how children feel. We want children to stay in a child's place, and we're not really recognizing that they have feelings and they're trying to process and understand life around them.
Does that go hand in hand with the issue of a child's development? I talk about it, but I believe that a parent is a child's first God.
Yes.
So when they see Goddess raising sand with the God, the male, then what does that do to them?
They mirror behaviors. So whatever they see, they reflect. So if you are angry, and that's how you lash out, is not really talking, but more so just lashing out, it's very likely your child is going to do the same thing because that's all they know.
Now you brought up a very interesting point. You said talking. Does it make a difference on how we communicate in terms of just being calm? Okay.
Yep. So this is something that people don't really realize when they're talking to children. Is a lot of times we'll say things like they understand, but in reality, kids don't really understand a lot. It's up to us to teach them. So
when do they start understanding? When do they get it?
it takes a while because I work with adults and there's still things that I have to teach them.
Whoa.
They don't get.
Whoa. So are you saying that sometimes adults are just old children?
Yeah, at times, yeah.
And what causes that?
What causes adults to be
Old
older children is lack of education, lack of understanding, really the understanding piece. Because we all interpret things the way that we know best. But what I like to do a lot of times with my clients or when I'm talking to people in general is ask them, what do they mean? Because your definition of something could be totally different from mine. So a lot of times when couples are arguing, I have to ask them, well, what do you mean by this? Because you saying something, I can interpret it to be totally different because my perception of life is a little different. But when I understand you by asking that question of what do you mean, I get clarification.
Ooh. I tell you what, we'll be right back. You all hold on. Gonna hear a word from our sponsor. Y'all come back now. Getting married has been made easier. Don't wait. If you are in love, get your wedding ceremony performed virtually or in person at one of our many locations. Get your nuptials in no time. Now you have a friend in the wedding business. Go to streamingvows.com today. And we're back with Janelle Dawson, the greatest therapist in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's helping us to learn what to and what not to do when it comes to supporting the child. How does a couple that is not living together, does that exacerbate the issue or create a larger problem? How does that come into it?
It can, because when you're around someone and you can understand them a little bit more, maybe. But if you're living in separate households, you may do things one way, this person does things another way. And if there's no conversation about what we're going to do together, especially with raising this child, where we have a common understanding and agreement about that, then what happens a lot of times is children have a difficult time adjusting.
Whoa, now you brought up a very solid point.
Yeah.
We're talking about co-parenting.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
I want to ask you about this, then get back to co-parenting.
Okay.
Do children play off discord to get what they want?
Absolutely.
And what's the deal?
Yeah. Kids, when they know these two people are at odds, they pick up on it. They know that this person and this person do not get along with each other. And I know that I'm in the middle. And so I may play one person to get what I want. I mean, kids do that even in two-parent households. Because if they notice, these parents, they're not communicating with each other. So I can kind of get over on this person because they're not communicating with this person. So if mom and dad are both on the same page, it's much harder for the kid to play. Because, hey, if I go to mom and she says this, then I know dad is in agreement with that. But if I go to mom and she says this, but then I go to dad and he says the opposite, oh, yeah, I'm going to definitely play that game.
You don't have that wall of authority.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to the issue of co-parenting. I have advocated, and I say co-parenting is where parents have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Do you help people in putting those plans together?
I actually have not. Actually, I did once a while ago. But it would be helpful if people would maybe go to a therapist and discuss creating that plan together.
Oh, what keeps people from just sitting down and saying, I'll do the dishes and if you cook?
Exactly. People don't communicate.
And that lack of communication is picked up by the child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When we talk about a unit that is separate, a mother and a father, biological, that are separated, at what point in time does the child start to develop some real issues?
I would say it really depends, again, on the parents' relationship. Because if a child is adjusting to, or let's just say they grew up and their parents were always separated, they already know that this is what it is. They already know on this particular day or days I see mom, on this particular days I see dad. Now, there can be difficulty if the parents were together and then they divorced and that child is trying to adjust to the difference in schedules, the changes that are happening. Because I'm used to seeing the two of you guys together and now you guys are apart and we have to figure out a new way of living. So that can be a little bit difficult, but it's also important to have a conversation with your child. Because I think a lot of times what happens is parents don't have the conversation with the child, but what the child hears is the parents arguing. And most times they're arguing is about, not necessarily about the child, but I'm supposed to see this kid on this day, or you're supposed to get the kid on this day. So again, back to what I was saying about understanding, how a child will perceive and understand that would be, they're fighting about me, this is all my fault. And then they start to develop a narrative about them that is probably not true.
Well, when you say them, they start to develop a narrative about themselves. What are the long-term effects that you've seen in that with, I guess, older children?
Okay. So they may feel like they're a burden to everybody around them. They may feel a lot of unnecessary guilt. You looking like...
No, I'm looking because I hear you, and you treat that in adults who carry this issue until adulthood.
Absolutely.
And how does that play into when they try to get a new boo?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Dawson, thank you so much for coming. And I'm going to ask you if you would come back.
Sure.
So listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Keep those calls, those emails, those comments coming in. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on Child Support Court, the Vodcast with Judge Harry Bowden. Take care now.